History doesn't always start with big buildings or old writings we can easily read. Sometimes it starts with just one bone, a piece of a skull found deep inside a cave. In the Philippines, our story begins long before any ships from faraway lands showed up. Imagine a group of over 7,000 islands, a green place full of life. The first known people here lived tens of thousands of years ago. We know this from finding Calao Man, Taban Man, and Palawan. These weren't Filipinos like we are today, but they were the first ones to call these islands home. They lived by hunting and gathering in a world very different from ours. Over hundreds of years, new groups came, especially the Austronesians. They arrived in boats called balangay. These weren't just boats, they were like whole towns floating on the water. They brought new tools, new languages, new ways of living. They settled along the coasts and the rivers. Everything changed. March 16, 1521. Spanish ships arrived. Ferdinand Magellan. He named them the Archipelago of St. Lazarus. The first meeting. Curiosity, not understanding each other. In Cebu. Magellan befriended Raja Humabon, his wife, hundreds of followers converted to Christianity. But this success didn't last long. On nearby Mactan, a chief named Lapu-Lapu refused battle. Magellan was killed. Lapu-Lapu became our first hero. It took 44 years for the Spanish to return. 1565. Miguel López de Legazpi arrived. He set up the first Spanish town in Cebu. The start of over 300 years of Spanish rule, the sword military force that scared local chiefs, the cross priests converting natives, seen as a holy job to save souls, and a worldly search for gold spices. Fame's scattered barangays were forced into one colony. The islands were named Las Islas Filipinas in honor of King Philip II. A governor-general at the top, layers of Spanish officials below. The encomienda gave land and people to loyal Spaniards. It often led to harsh treatment. Priests became powerful in every town. They ran religious life. They ran local politics. They ran schooling. The church, often a huge stone building, became the town's physical and symbolic center, built where the church bells could be heard. They were forced to pay taxes. They did unpaid work. Polo y servicios. They took on a new religion mixed with old beliefs. We now call this folk Catholicism. The galleon trade between Manila and Acapulco made the Philippines a link in a global trade system, but the wealth rarely reached ordinary Filipinos. Over time it brought unity, new crops, new tools, a new religion, but at a big cost, losing freedom, stopping local culture, and the start of a long growing anger that would eventually lead to revolution. 300 years of Spanish rule made a society ready for change. The seeds of revolution were planted not by weapons but by words and ideas. In the 1800s, a new group of educated Filipinos called the Ilustrados came forward. A brilliant doctor. Through his books, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, Rizal showed the problems of Spanish rule, the bad things the priests did, the government's corruption, and the suffering of the Filipino people. He didn't ask for a bloody war, but for changes. Yet his words woke up a nation. Andres Bonifacio, a warehouse worker from Tondo with a strong spirit, believed that freedom couldn't be won only through peaceful ways. In 1892, on the very night he found out Rizal was sent away, Bonifacio started a secret group called the Katipunan. Its goal was simple and big, to win Philippine independence through fighting. The Katipunan grew in secret, getting thousands of members from all kinds of people. Bonifacio and his followers tore up their cedulas, or community tax papers, in an act of defiance known as the Cry of Pugad Lawan.